Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here tonight with a video talking about WWE's Crown Jewel pay-per-view. I will never be one guy that comes on here and honestly talks about what is going on in politics and in the news, or, maybe even religion or anything like that, because I really think that, talking about wrestling and talking about sports is pretty much the highlight of what you're going to get here on my channel. So I'm not one to really venture into those things, but I think that WWE really has something on their hands that they really need to figure out. Definitely WWE stock honestly continues to really surge with the fact that WWE signed this huge deal, which basically pays them $50 million every time they go do one show for one night in Saudi Arabia. Think about, you running a business and, you already run a really good, successful business that makes a lot of money, and you're going to find a way to add $100 million to this year's sales and not really spend that much money to bring it in. WWE is already touring. WWE has already got all of the wrestlers under contract, and any of the, I guess you can say, extra wrestlers that they're bringing in to wrestle these shows. The cost to bring those wrestlers in adds nowhere up to the world of $50 million. WWE is going to be using Shawn Michaels in his comeback from retirement match, which in my mind blows my mind that the fact that this is going to happen. Brock Lesnar is going to be wrestling on the show. Definitely in my mind, I thought that he was walking away after WrestleMania, but Brock ended up beating Roman Reigns. Then we had the World's Greatest Royal Rumble that happened a month after WrestleMania, which was a Saudi Arabia show, I do believe. And that to me was like, well, Brock's going to lose the belt here, but he's going to get one hell of a payday and be able to walk away from WWE. And Brock kept the championship again before finally losing it at SummerSlam. I'm pretty sure it's where he lost it. It wasn't really memorable in my mind because how many times it took Roman to win that damn belt. So WWE does have a way of talking people in to getting some of that Saudi money and come back and make one hell of a payday for this show. I know that there is, a lot of talk on the internet about, WWE getting some flashback from definitely senators in WWE. I haven't really heard any mainstream news stories, but I have, seen things on wrestling blog sites that I go to of, people in outrage on the internet over, WWE wanting to go into business with the Saudis at this time when there is this mysteriously missing reporter that people say that Saudi Arabia made their problem basically go away. You can put words into however you think that happens, but that is the reason why people think that this Saudi Arabia show shouldn't happen. Definitely, if you go to WWE's main page and you look up anything that involves around Crown Jewel, or even if you go to the Crown Jewel pay-per-view page and you read through the pay-per-view listings of matches and the sort of, I guess you can say like the write-ups that they do on the matches, I don't think Saudi Arabia is mentioned one time that this is where this show is going to be happening. It's almost as if WWE has scrubbed Saudi Arabia from their website, much like they did Hulk Hogan after the whole Hulk Hogan debacle a few years ago, where they actually had to take him out of the Hall of Fame and act like he was never a part of WWE, even though he's probably the one guy that ties into everything that ever happened in the history of WWE to get them to the point that they are today. I think that this show is going to happen. I think that honestly, you get the wrestlers, you put them on the plane, you fly them to Saudi Arabia, you put them in the hotel, maybe you bring some extra security, you tell the wrestlers not to leave their room, basically travel as a team, travel in a pack. The chances of, somebody in Saudi Arabia kidnapping a pack of wrestlers is pretty unlikely, but although if they do come at them with guns, and they don't have guns. Maybe that could happen. There's stories of like tour buses being taken over in Mexico and things like that. So I guess anything can happen at this time. But I don't really know what the Saudi Arabia people would have problems with the wrestlers. The story is that one of the reasons why Saudi Arabia is paying them all this money is to try and find a way for WWE to talk about Saudi Arabia, talk about the way that they're making changes in the country, and they're not really the way that they were back in the 90s during the Gulf War. They're trying to sort of modernize what's going on, even though they don't let the women go there. They don't let the women wrestle. I don't think women were allowed to even attend the show, even though it's looked at as sort of like a family atmosphere. It was pretty funny to basically have the floor area of the Saudi Arabia World's Greatest Royal Rumble seemed like it almost had couches or recliners down on the floor. It was a little bit different, and that's sort of what made it fun to watch. So hopefully this pay-per-view is looked at more seriously than the World's Greatest Royal Rumble. In my opinion, there was a lot of matches like Undertaker and Rusev, as well as the Triple H versus John Cena match that were almost glorified house shows, where if I would have saw those matches on a house show, I would have hoped that they were going to be better. And the only reason that they were there is because this was televised on the WWE Network. So, I think that there's no doubt in my mind that WWE is not going to popularize like where the show is going to come from. But I don't think no matter how much outcry is on the internet, if they're not getting mainstream CNN or Fox News coverage about them going there, that WWE is going to pull the plug and not go to Saudi Arabia for these shows.